All right, can you guys see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I was a little worried at first.
Oh, no, no, I can see it fine.
All right, excellent, thank you. We'll give other folks who may be trickling in a few more minutes before we get started. All right, we can go ahead and get started. If anybody has any technical problems or if you can't hear me, please feel free to message me in this chat, raise your hand, so we can try and resolve that. I want to try and make sure everyone understands all the content that we have to go over. Quickly, a few announcements. I put my contact information in the chat, so if anyone hasn't had a chance to pick that up during the course of the class, that information should be there available for you to write down during the course of the presentation. There is some construction going on right outside my office. I really apologize. You'd think 6 o'clock on a Wednesday would be a great time to avoid that. However, it is what it is. Additionally, after tonight, we'll have one more class together. So that is very sad, but I'm very excited for the time we have got to spend together. I think we've gotten to share a lot of really helpful information. Additionally, be sure to be on the lookout for those flyers coming in the next few days, as well as the YouTube link. So the previous lectures have been uploaded to YouTube, and they're all on they're on our 4-H Walton County 4-H YouTube channel for you to check out. So if there's something that you didn't pick up on, or you want to go back and reference, that material is there for you in addition to the flyers, and you'll probably be getting more flyers this week, and you'll see why during the course of this presentation. As always, like I said, these are being recorded and placed on YouTube. However, if you would like to ask a question, I will stick around after the recording has ended so that you can ask questions either on the Zoom or using the chat feature, and I can answer those for you if you're uncomfortable answering them during this section that will be posted to YouTube. All right, with all of that said, I'd like to introduce today's lesson on, we're combining two different lessons on home safety and green cleaning. I think these two go together pretty well. Remember, this class is all about maintaining your home without protecting your investment. It's about saving you money in the long run. A lot of times that will involve spending money up front. However, a lot of these things will be sort of either tasks you can undertake yourself or using items you already have. So we always have our agenda. So our agenda is very simple. We're talking about green cleaning and home safety. A short disclaimer before we get started. As we'll talk about a lot of things in this presentation, a lot of products will be used. These are only for demonstration purposes only. University of Georgia and myself do not endorse or promote any of these brands or products. We would encourage you guys as thoughtful consumers to make the best decision for your family about what it is that you should purchase with your hard-earned money. Okay. Moving along swiftly. So we'll start with the green cleaning portion of our presentation. So why will we call green cleaning? Why is it important? Why would it be considered healthier? I think green cleaning may not necessarily be the right way to look at it. A lot of these mixtures and techniques that we'll talk about are things that probably, if your grandmother was anything like mine, this is just what she would have called cleaning. This is the way that she took care of her home. As someone who was, raised during the Great Depression, they had to make do with what they had. So I'm going to have some similar techniques that we'll talk about today. They're just as effective now as they were 100 years ago, and they could potentially save your family money and be healthier in the long run. According to the EPA, the indoor air quality inside our homes tends to be somewhere between 2 and 5 times more dangerous than the air quality outside, which I think is honestly crazy because, you've got cars and buses and factories and all this stuff outside. You'd think we have cleaner air indoors. However, there are a lot of these things called VOCs, or volatile organic compounds. They are gases that come off of a lot of our household products, household chemicals that we don't necessarily think about, but we use every single day. So those VOCs, they may come from all kinds of things, like the cleaners that we use, insulation in our home. Some homes will have more than others. If you have an older home or you have, gas home, powered home, you'll have a lot more of these, whereas some, newer homes or electric homes will have less of these, but everyone is going to have, cleaners and pesticides and such. So trying to either remove as much as we can or, limit the exposure wherever we can is always important. So the concerns that we have for VOCs is that these have been directly linked to respiratory problems, especially among children. So if you have children, this is probably more of a concern. And then the household products that we're trying to replace, are also responsible for a lot of calls to poison control. So this data is a little bit out of date. It's from about 6 years ago, but it's a good representation of 10,000 children being potentially harmed by just laundry detergent packets. So we have tons of more cleaners than that sprinkled throughout our home, but that is just one example. So we'll go through some why might you decide that you want to choose some of these cleaning products that we'll talk a little bit about during this presentation? Well, one, it's going to lessen your environmental impact, which means more to some people and less to others. However, I think the last 2 points, being simpler and saving money, those are things that everyone can agree on. No one wants to spend more money, or sometimes it's not even necessarily about the money. It's, I need to have this thing cleaned in the next hour. I don't have time to drive all the way to the store and buy something. What can I make using the things that I already have on hand? So, you saved money on that trip to the store and you were able to just utilize some things that were already inside of your home. Those are the pictures at the bottom of the screen. Those are examples of the recipes that you guys will be provided in your flyers at the end of tomorrow. All right. So we're talking about, of course, reducing our impact on the environment and reducing our impact on our health, especially folks who have respiratory problems, for example, asthma. We'll talk a lot more about asthma and air quality next week, but that is a huge a driving force behind this. Some people also, are worried about conserving natural resources. A lot of these products come traditionally in plastic containers, or they're very heavy and have to be shipped very long distances. So, reducing the need for such, products and unnecessary waste may be very appealing to some folks. Simplify. Why do I need to have, I think if your home is anything like mine, you've got just like 15 bottles under the sink, and 99% of the time they just sit under there and they don't do anything. So why would I not want to reduce the number of bottles? That's more space in my home for other things I actually need to use more often. Saving money in the space of not having to, buy things and throw them away, even though I don't even use them that often. Everyone thinks they need a specialized cleaner for every room, but a lot of the times what you use to clean your countertops in your bathroom and countertops in your bathtub and your toilet, a lot of times the same products can be used to clean multiple things. So we'll talk a little bit more about that throughout this presentation. All right, so what we'll do is we'll briefly go through the different, rather than sort of taking the time to go over every single cleaning recipe that we've developed at the university. It's probably better to sort of go through the categories and then provide you guys with the recipes on your own so that you can make the products that you're going to care the most about for your family. If this were an in-person activity, I could show you how to make some of the cleaners. We can make them together and you could take home the ones that you want. However, until we have some advancements in Zoom technology, we'll have to sort of settle for explaining how these different products work and then providing you with the recipes to make on your own time. So abrasive products are used to scrub particulate matter off of a surface. They may be very coarse, like steel wool, or finer, like the scrubbing pad that we all probably have at the kitchen sink. These are sort of, rather than using a chemical, they're using sort of elbow grease to sort of get items to be more clean. The downside of abrasives is they tend to they will not just remove the bad part, they will remove the good part, right? So they can't, especially on things like stainless steel or cookware that has like a protective coating or an enamel on the outside. If the abrasives are consistently used, it will sort of remove whatever the outer coating, the protective part is, and will sort of wear down whatever it is that you're trying to clean, which is important to be aware of. The biggest examples are steel wool and the scrubbing pads, but these may be present as liquids or powders as well. All right, alkalines. So these are props such as baking soda or boric acid. These are generally to clean oily dirt or grease off of items because alkalines, remember acid, if you remember your high school chemistry classes, the pH value, so an acid is something that has a low pH, whereas these alkalines have a high pH. So if something has a high pH, it's able to cut through that grease and sort of more easily get those products cleaner. Baking soda is probably the safest option. However, if something is more stubborn, borax may be helpful. However, borax, there is some evidence that suggests borax may have negative health effects in some small groups. There's not conclusive evidence to support that, but it may be enough that for some folks to try and avoid using that as well. Baking soda is also much easier to find than borax, and most folks will already sort of have that if they do any sort of cooking or baking inside their home. Both products tend to be available pretty widely at just about any grocery stores, but washing soda is another option, which is sodium carbonate instead of sodium bicarbonate that baking soda is. Next, we have our acids. We talked about this a little bit last time when we were discussing how to effectively clean your drain. So we had our alkalis, which are high pHs. These are our low pHs. These are really excellent for removing things like rust and mineral deposits. So if you have hard water that stains your tubs or your toilets, acids would be a great way to keep those clean. White vinegar is going to be your cheapest option. It's going to be very effective, but anyone who's ever opened a bottle of vinegar knows exactly how it smells. and it may not be the most desirable product to use to clean your home. Lemon juice is going to have, or lemon oil is going to have a much better, much more pleasant aroma. However, lemon juice is going to cost significantly more than vinegar, and then lemon oil does cause reactions in some people, which may not necessarily affect your family, but is something to be aware of. These work great on many metals. I will say that do not put these on your silver. They will eat it up. However, copper and brass, if you need to clean copper and brass, you can mix them with salt and cornstarch to get a wonderful finish on those. All right, surfactants. So surfactants sort of lift up grease and or soil of any kind, and they sort of take the product away. This is what makes Dawn dish soap such an effective cleaning agent. Oh, is somebody not able to hear me? You guys able to hear me?
We can hear you. You just like blinked out for 1 second.
Okay, are we back now?
Yeah.
Okay, there we are. Yeah, you blinked out for a second.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that. All right, so surfactants. So this is thinking about like Dawn dish soap. This is what makes it such an effective cleaning agent. Is if you watch their commercials to see how it's so great at cleaning penguins and such. It's also tends to be the hardest product to reproduce when we're doing this because it's generally derived from petroleum products or oil, which is both, makes it fairly plentiful and fairly inexpensive, but it also does make it generally irritant to lots of people's skin. The only real green or sort of environmentally friendly or available option is Castell soap, which is more available only in really like health food type stores, but is an option for some folks who are looking to replace that. And I think what's great about a lot of this information is if there's only a few things that you want to replace in your home, that will be a great way to do that. You don't necessarily have to throw all of your cleaning products away, but this may be a great, some of these things, some of this knowledge may be a great addition to your sort of toolkit. All right, disinfectants. So disinfectants is the one a little bit tricky. I will say on the first side of this, that if you work in a healthcare setting, if you work in a childcare setting, or you work in a food service setting, that it's important for me to mention that these products are only intended for home use. If you work in, those are some of our regulated industries. It's really important to follow whatever your local regulations are for those businesses. This information is intended only for use inside the home. With that being said, disinfectants are regulated by the EPA through what is known as the, hopefully I get this right, the FIFRA, which stands for the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act. One of those things that I had to read all about when I was in college. And if you ever see a product, particularly at value-oriented stores like a dollar store, and they aren't making claims about how often or how much a product is able to kill germs or disinfect germs, that is because it's not actually a proper disinfectant. So the most common that this happens with is bleach. We'll talk more about bleach on the next slide. But if a product is not, they can claim to be bleach, but if they don't claim that they are able to disinfect or kill a certain amount of things, that product may be bleach, but it may not actually be what you're actually trying to purchase. So make sure if you're trying to buy products for cleaning, that you're actually identifying products that are making claims about killing microorganisms, reducing their numbers, so that you are actually protecting your family and not purchasing the incorrect product. Disinfectants will generally have a contact time. It depends on the product, what that contact time is. It's generally between about 5 to 10 minutes, but it will differ between products. All right, like I said, bleach. We've all heard, like I said, just like my grandmother, it's not clean until it's bleach clean. You've probably heard that many, many times. Bleach is very effective as a disinfectant. However, it is often, it can cause damage to and irritation to the eyes, skin, and respiratory system, which may not make it usable for all folks. However, hydrogen peroxide is becoming more and more commonly used as an alternative. Sodium percarbate or sodium percarbite are also options as well to replace the bleach that maybe our parents or our grandparents used inside their homes. So just a short recap. Remember, cleaning, that's removing the dirt and grime. Sanitizing is reducing the number of germs, and then disinfecting is either eliminating or inactivating those germs. A short piece on greenwashing. I don't want anyone to, get fooled or lose any money. Terms like green, natural, non-toxic, those are not regulated terms. So we talk about that a lot in nutrition. What are some regulated terms? They can put that on any label. You could put that on a barrel of oil. You could put it on a forest fire. Like they don't mean anything, right? They're just companies trying to sell you stuff. If you are actually trying to choose safer products for your family, you want to look for some of the logos that we have on the screen. The Green Seal is a non-governmental agency. They're a nonprofit that works to ensure that products are actually good for the environment. The Safer Choice is a seal created by the EPA to similarly demonstrate that products are safe for the environment. So make sure you have a look at those products as well. The only time chemicals, these types of household chemicals, have to make any kind of claim that's backed up by science is when they're talking about that sanitizer that we were talking about. It actually has to kill germs if they're making a claim about that. Other than that, they can put whatever they want on that bottle, and it could be totally true. So keep that in mind when you're doing your shopping. All right, so of course we want to save money. That's, the whole point of this course is try and save you guys money, trying to protect your investment. Always mix your ingredients in well-ventilated areas. Never make more than a month's supply. You'll sort of, they lose their effectiveness after a certain amount of time. Never mix ammonia and bleach. That will be very toxic for you and your family's health. Always label and date products. That way you know when it's time to discard and make the next batch and potentially reduce the amount in your recipe so that you can only make the amount that your family needs. And make sure you're storing anything that may be toxic to children, like essential oils, out of their reach, and make sure that they're properly labeled. Remember, a poison is any substance that can be harmful. So, poisoning can occur through ingestion, which is when a child eats something. Absorption is when it gets on their skin. Inhalation is when they breathe it in. It may be an animal or an insect that is poisonous, and then injected. So if if a child falls and a rusty nail gets into their skin, would be an example of poisoning. So it may not. We don't typically think about that somebody doesn't necessarily have to go eat the Tide Pod for it to be a poisoning. It may be that they're simply exposed to it because a lot of it is in the home. Are other examples of poisonings occurring? We talk about this a lot in our childproofing lesson, but it's always important to remind folks, make sure you're always storing any type of drugs or chemicals in their original container where children cannot reach them, preferably locked up. If you were choosing to make these cleaners at home, which we would, of course, encourage you to follow our recipes, never put it in a food container. That could be very confusing. And then always make sure it's labeled with what the product is, the ingredients in it, and the date it was created. Never put any type of chemicals in a food container. Use your safety caps. Make sure lids are on tight, and make sure you're always following instructions and reading the instructions before you use any product. These are our 8 keys that we of the Georgia Healthy Housing Initiative. We encourage folks to make sure you keep your home clean, contaminant-free, well-maintained, pest-free, dry, ventilated, safe, and green. We've gone through a lot of these concepts during these programs, and so I hope that not all of these, you're being reminded of some of the different things we've already talked about. And so, of course, keeping your home green and clean was the object of this part of the presentation. I didn't want to bore you guys with every single recipe, but these are what recipes you'll be getting from us. So you'll get the all-purpose cleaner, the non-abrasive soft scrubber, floor cleaner, wood cleaner, laminate floor cleaner, furniture polish, drain cleaner, garbage disposal cleaner, oven cleaner, refrigerator cleaner, aluminum cleaner, fragrant kitchen cleanser, 2 different plumbing fixture cleaners, the toilet bowl cleanser, the tub and tile cleaner, no street glass cleaner, mirror and window polish, garbage can deodorizer, and copper and brass cleaner, as well as a few recommendations on where to find some of these ingredients. That should cover maybe not everything inside your home, but certainly quite a few things. When you get the recipe cards tomorrow, this is what they will look like. So that there at the top is our authors who helped at the university help put these together. They'll all be numbered in that order that I just gave them to you in. And so it'll have the ingredients listed as well as how to make the product and how to use the product. When you get these recipes, and if you have any questions about how to properly use them, please reach out. That should have my contact information in there as well. All right, that concludes the green cleaning portion of today's presentation. With that, we'll be moving swiftly into the home safety portion. If anyone has any questions, you can either wait until the end, or you could always drop them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them at the end of the presentation as well. So with the home safety part of our presentation, it's important to remember that, a lot of the things that we're going to go over, they may not be dangerous, to me as a fully grown adult who's healthy and always paying attention. I never look at my phone. I never walk around with too many things in my hands. That's not always necessarily the truth. Even if you don't have your own children may come through your home who are your nieces or nephews or your children's friends, or you will eventually, a terrible thought, you will eventually grow older and you will have be greatly appreciative that you took the time to put some of these things in place before then. And then, like I said, we're all going to be distracted. We're not going to be paying attention or rushing, and those could create the safety hazards that we're talking about in this presentation. At the end of the day, we want everyone to be safe. We want you to take care of and protect the investment that is your home. And so that is why we are going to include this part of the presentation. All right, electrical cords are a huge tripping hazard, so make sure that they aren't in any high traffic areas. Avoid using if possible, and you can, try and plug things directly into the wall wherever you can. If you do use electrical cords, make sure you are using high quality and heavy duty cords so that they are able to last and not, if they are stepped on or unplugged violently, they aren't going to damage either your home or potentially cause more catastrophic problems. Throw rugs are a big tripping hazard. When you're purchasing, think about if your home really needs to have throw rugs. If you do really want them for decoration, make sure that you're choosing options that include some type of non-slip backing and ensure that it is actually non-slip. There are tons of vendors that don't, that claim to be non-slip and not actually be. And then if you already have some rugs and you really like the way that they make your home look or feel, consider adding a product like the one shown on the slide, which will sort of be added after the fact to create a non-slip backing on the back to keep yourself and the other folks who may be in your home safe as well. Lamps, I'm a big hypocrite on this one. I'm not the biggest fan of lamps. My wife loves them, so we've got tons of them in our home. But they are great tools that can help prevent trip and falls by keeping your home more illuminated than just a few lights. Other than just having lamps, anytime a light bulb burns out, make sure you're replacing it as quickly as possible to keep your home as illuminated as you can. All right. Handrails, make sure your handrails are on any ascending or descending areas of your home has a handrail that is properly installed and secured, like the one on the left-hand side of the slide. The one on the right seems to be more decorative than actually functional. So maybe consider, that maybe not be the best choice to have in your home. choosing the options that are safe is the most important thing, and then make sure that the decorative elements come after the fact as well. Clutter, not just a not just a difficult situation from a visual perspective, but it can also be dangerous. You think about things like magazines and newspapers, they tend, especially when they're stacked on top of each other, they tend to be very slick and create a big problem. And you may think, oh, it's just sitting on my desk or on my table. It's not really a big issue. But if you're anything like me, they get knocked off when you go to eat dinner, or the cats get a hold of it and suddenly it's all over the floor and making an even bigger mess that you don't want to clean up. So, try and keep those things stacked up, make sure they're not on the floor or near stairs. Folks who maybe didn't know that mess was there may get hurt because they didn't realize that those papers or mail was in a place that they weren't expecting. So that kind of clutter can end up being inadvertently dangerous. It's getting that time of year. I was shocked this morning when I walked out of the house and it was 40 degrees, but it is once again time to start thinking about heating our homes. If you need to use a space heater, make sure you are always turning it on. Never turn on a space heater and then go to sleep. Always make sure you're turning it off before then. Or if you have to leave your home for any reason, make sure your space heaters are off. And never ever use an unvented heater. I didn't know this was a thing until I was doing some research for this presentation, but there are tons of heaters on the market, especially ones that use gas, that are not properly ventilated. That could create a really dangerous situation inside your home. So, make sure when you're purchasing a space heater, make sure that it's safe to operate inside, and then never leave it unattended when either you're not there or when you're asleep, because that could create a very, very dangerous situation. All right, make sure when you're cooking, or if you, not even necessarily if you're cooking, if you're just leaving, some dirty pots on your stove while you're eating dinner, or you're just storing a few utensils there while you go step away to do something else. Make sure we're moving our handles, pointing them either inward towards the stove or sideways towards the countertop, as our wonderful Dalmatian friend is showing us there, as our wonderful baby is demonstrating. Those can be very dangerous to either children or honestly, just adults who aren't paying attention. My wife, a couple months ago, recently pretty badly burned her stomach area because she was trying to make macaroni and cheese. She wasn't paying attention. She bumped into the handle of a pot and spilled boiling water on herself. So don't tell her I told that story, but it's, we may think, we're really good at these kinds of things, but it's important to keep in mind that, we're not always doing our best to pay attention, and we can create dangerous situations for ourselves if we're not trying our absolute best. All right, fire extinguishers. We talked a little bit about fire extinguishers in a previous presentation. Always make sure that you have one in your kitchen. Make sure you're checking it at the very least monthly. Make sure it's in working order, that you can actually get to it if it ever needed to be used. And then always make sure you're checking that gauge up near the top. You can see on this one, make sure that needle is staying in the green area, so that if you actually needed to use it, it would be working and working properly, so that it could save you either both a lot of time and a lot of money, potentially save lives by having a working fire extinguisher. All right, night lights, not the most fun thing to talk about or think about as an adult. Think about using these in dark hallways, bedrooms, bathrooms, or you can even make night lights now that will automatically turn on when a room has darkened. We started using these inside my home, and I was very skeptical at first, but I could never go back. They're so useful, even necessarily outside of just being much safer, that you can see where you're going, especially when you have two cats that always seem to be in a different place than you want them to be. It's just so convenient to be able to make your way to the restroom in the middle of the night without having to turn a light on, or get to the kitchen to get a drink of water and not have to flip that light switch on. So I cannot recommend some very cheap, very inexpensive. They often come in multi-packs. Some night lights that automatically darken, turn on when the room darkens. Grab bars. So this is obviously a more fancy example of some grab bars. But they're a great addition to a shower or tub. They can, especially for our older folks, they can be a real lifesaver and help them getting in and out of the tub. Even people my age, I've certainly slipped in the shower a few times, and I would have been a grab bar sure would have been nice. I'd have been busting my butt on the bottom of the tub. So it may be something to consider if you're in a home improvement mood to have some installed in either your shower or tub. Flashlights, make sure every nightstand, everyone in the home has a flashlight in their nightstand. Can be a real lifesaver when the power goes out and you need a way to be able to safely navigate either inside or even outside of your home. And having it on the nightstand means that folks will have easy access to it and know exactly where it is if it becomes necessary. Make sure you're always reducing or eliminating any pests and chemicals. You want to make sure there's no food and water sources available to insects. This graphic was created for food service facilities, but I think it applies equally well to inside the home. Making sure that you're cleaning up spills as promptly, making sure you're not leaving trash sitting for too long, especially in rooms that you maybe don't go in all the time, like the basement or a bathroom that's not all used every single day. If you have food, make sure it's sealed either in containers or Ziploc bags. And then always consulting professional pest control services should that be necessary for your family. All right, how hot is too hot? So we recommend making sure your water heater is set to 120 degrees. Some that would just be labeled as medium on a hot water heater. Always make sure before you get into the bathtub, make sure you check the water before you get in or get in the shower as well. That not only is this going to help keep your family safe, it's additionally going to save you a lot of money because your hot water heater doesn't have to work as hard to get that water a lot hotter. The sort of an exponential curve. The hotter and hotter you want your water to get, the more and more energy has to go into it. So if you turn that temperature down, you're going to be saving a lot of money on your electricity bill. And then if you have infants who are using your home to bathe, you may even need to turn that dial down even lower. So keep that in mind if maybe you don't have an infant that lives with you, but maybe a family friend who recently had a child is coming to visit. It may be prudent to keep that in mind before they come over as well. All right, GFCI outlets are the little outlets pictured on the slide. They've got the little built-in breaker, the reset switch. So these are you're most commonly seen either outdoors or in areas of the home where water is also present. So typically the kitchen, bathroom, perhaps the laundry area as well. These will prevent electric shocks because they have additional grounding capabilities built right into them. So it's important to make sure that these are properly installed, make sure that they are working because they are a mechanical device. They will eventually wear out. So it's important to make sure that they are tested and working as well. All right, the locks on your home, make sure your locks on doors and windows work correctly. So similar to the GFCI outlets, your home probably comes with locks, but these are mechanical devices. They will wear out over time. They may be susceptible to easy entry, a credit card slide behind the bolt open type situation. So keep in mind that they won't last forever. They will eventually need to be replaced. Paying attention to how much wear and tear is on those objects is important to protecting yourself and the rest of your family. All right, outside lights. We have a picturesque example of some exterior lights. I'm using them on either sidewalks or next to the front door. Can allow you to, if there's any potential tripping hazards, you can be wary and protect yourself as you enter your home. I was doing a similar lesson to this at one of our local 55 and up communities. And one lady came up and she told me after the presentation, she said, I wish somebody like you had come and talked to me, 10 years ago, because I was walking up to my house late after work one night and I tripped over a big rat snake. And so she was, scared out of her mind and dropped her keys and groceries right there on the grass because she would have seen the rat snake if maybe the snake wouldn't have been on her driveway if she had had it slightly more illuminated. So I can't guarantee that they're going to keep the snakes away, but you'll at least be able to see them so they won't scare the bejesus out of you when you're coming off of your shift at the end of the day. Not the most masculine or manly advice, but step stools are a fantastic tool for some of our more vertically challenged friends and family members. If you're anything like me and my wife, you're just say, oh, well, I'll just grab a chair. It is recommended to purchase purpose-built things because they're going to be better designed to support your weight. They're not going to roll away. You don't ever want to stand on anything on wheels. So these purpose-built, they fold up really easily. They can fit in small spaces. You can get the right size. They come in many different sizes, many different stairs to fit your home. And they will keep you and your family much safer when you have to reach something on those much higher shelves. And lastly, probably the least fun of these suggestions is if you do have frayed carpet, make sure you fix that as quickly as possible. Frays, such as the one on the slide there, they could catch someone's foot or cane when they're trying to walk. They tend to release a lot of particulate matter, which makes them it makes cleaning other parts of the home much more difficult. I remember when I was growing up, we had a small spot that was fraying, and every time you tried to vacuum the carpet, it would get stuck in the vacuum, and then you have to spend the next 15 minutes unclogging the vacuum. So just do yourself a favor, go ahead and get that repaired so that you can prevent those kinds of issues in the future. All right, so that is this evening's presentation. I hope everyone learned a thing or two. You will be receiving all of the link to the upload of this presentation tomorrow, as well as in that email, you should be receiving the green cleaning recipes as well, all the ones I promised on the slides, so you can choose to make the ones that you would like at your home, sort of at your leisure. My contact information is on the slides. If you have any issues with any of those cleaners, or if you have any questions about any of the other topics we discussed, you can go ahead and contact us either by email or by phone. If anyone has any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those now. If you'd like, I will wait to take additional questions after the screen recording has ended. So if you don't want to appear in the YouTube clip, you can go ahead and hold off on those questions. But I'll be happy to answer any questions now. All right, well, if no one has, I'll go ahead and end. Sorry, I'm having a bit of an issue with the PowerPoint there. I'll go ahead and
I do have
end
one.
the recording.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. Yes.
Hey, I'm sorry. I do have a question. When does